After watching this video, you're gonna become a pro in clarification questions. So hold your breath and let's get started. Clarifying is asking unstructured and focused questions to improve your understanding of a situation and be able to better structure your approach as a next step. Clarifying is very important for consultants because they must quickly understand their gaps of knowledge that can change their future approach. Let's check out how that sounds like. First, align your plan of attack, and second, start asking your questions. Thank you for confirming my recap. Now, as I said, I would like to ask some clarification questions. My questions might influence a change to my structure, but they are not my structured approach yet. You also said the most important factor. Should I understand this is the one with the biggest financial impact? If I may clarify some things. When you say the client was A and now it's B, how much is actually B? You should not ask for time to prepare your clarification questions. You should just ask them as they come to your mind. It's a dialogue. Everything between 3 and 7 clarification questions is normal. More than 7 clarification questions can sound like an unstructured approach to isolate the problem. And this can damage your image to the interviewer. Some of them will get even impatient and stop you mid-flight and ask you to see your structured approach first. Less than 3 clarification questions is kind of a missed opportunity to reveal more useful information and also get more time to think about the problem. The most useful clarification questions belong to one of the 5 following categories. First, definitions that you did not understand. Second, what exactly happened? Third, the goal of the client. Fourth, the business model of the client. Fifth, the industry. Try to stick to those 5 topics and you'll be safe. Remember to warn your interviewer that this is not your structured approach yet. Cases are usually jargon-free, but in case you hear any unknown terms or any ambiguous term, ask your interviewer what exactly does it mean. Questions of this type sound like, you asked, what are the economics of this business? Do you mean the drivers of revenues and costs or something else? I understand that the profits are down. Do you mean profits in dollar value or profit margin? Now, questions about what exactly happened. When presented with a situation, you must understand exactly what happened before you arrived. If profits or revenues have stopped growing or are going down, for instance, try to understand by how much and what was the time frame of that change. Often the interviewer will not talk about those details. But if revenues have fallen 10%, the root causes have probably different natures than if they had fallen like 50%. The aggressiveness of your recommendation will also probably change. If the change happened last year, that's very different than if it happened 10 years ago. Again, the root causes can be different. The same reasoning applies to increasing costs. Understand the magnitude and the time frame of the changes. The other key point is not to accept totals and averages about what exactly happened. For instance, if the market has grown by 5% on average, is there any segmentation that we might want to know? Maybe continents? Maybe not, but maybe you find out something useful there. Finally, in an investment or any other decision case, understand the rationale behind the choices that the client made and included in the briefing before you arrived. You said revenues decreased steeply. May I understand by how much and what was the period of time of this decrease? I understand that profits have fallen in the short run. What exactly do you call short run? Why does the client want to enter China specifically? How was this decision made and are they considering other markets as well? Now let's talk about the goals of the client. You only know if you accomplished the goal at the end of the case if you started with a target and a time frame to reach it. Often there is a numerical target, but sometimes the target is qualitative or there are some side goals to it. Always probe for material, quantitative targets and use them as a beacon to guide your recommendations. If in the end you cannot achieve it, it is your job as a consultant to suggest other actions that might bridge the gap. Questions of this type sound like, you said the objective is to increase profits. May I know by how much? By when should this objective be accomplished? The client wants to enter a new market, but what is the return expectations they have to guide that decision, like payback time or return on investment? Is there any other goal apart from the main goal? To advise clients, you must first minimally understand the businesses they are in, understand what is the product or service, and how does the client make money. Why does anyone buy what the client is offering? And also, where does the client play in the value chain? And if relevant, what's the geography? Sometimes you'll face very obvious and easy industries. But that's not a rule. Pretending you understand the client's business model will almost surely cost you some points later in the case. One question that might be very useful for your structure is understanding the revenue streams or the sales segmentation of your client upfront. Questions of this type sound like, you said the client is a retail broker. Can you really explain to me what it actually does to make money? I understand that the client produces trucks. Can I assume they buy parts to assemble the trucks and sell the trucks to distributors? Or are they integrated vertically somehow? Where is the client present geographically? How does the client segment sales? Now, questions about industry. Understanding if a phenomenon is happening also to competitors may point out to systemic causes that no one could avoid. Therefore, the answer may be compensating this effect somewhere else. If the problem has not happened somewhere else, the client must revise what it has been doing differently from competitors. Do we know if the same issue has been observed in other players? Is the industry suffering from the same effects? Okay, now let's talk about inadequate clarification questions. Bad questions are not only useless for the resolution of the case, but also can damage your image to the interviewer. Usually, bad questions are 1. Off topic and not immediately related to the case question. 2. Too detailed or specific to be actually asked before your structure. And 3. Not helpful at all for the structure or for the resolution of the case. Now, your question might just get a normal answer and then you move on and proceed to the next question. But there is something I have to talk to you about the different reactions of your interviewer to your questions and what you should do in case this happens to you. First scenario. Okay, you asked your clarification questions, they are truly important for your structure, but then your interviewer answers, oh, we don't know. Or maybe, this is irrelevant. Don't be shaken. You're just doing your job. So say okay and move on to the next question. The question could be relevant in other scenarios. The thing is, you don't know, but your interviewer knows. So just accept it. Second scenario. So you ask your clarification question and your interviewer snaps back at you. Why do you need to know this? Don't fret either. Just give your rationale. In more general terms, you can say, because this influences my structure. In more specific terms, you could give examples of what different answers could mean. Always be ready to explain why you're asking something, in case your interviewer interrogates. In fact, developing the habit of explaining why proactively you're asking something is a good habit. Third scenario. So you ask your question and your interviewer hands you out an exhibit with the answers. Thank the interviewer, read it quickly, and move on to your next question. Don't get lost in the exhibit and start doing crazy math yet. You'll still need a structure. Fourth scenario. You ask your question and your interviewer answers something really interesting and intriguing. In this case, don't move on to your next question yet. Explore the topic a little better with a follow-up question. Let's see some examples of clarification questions. But one last thing about clarification. Even if the big clarification happens in the beginning of the case, whenever you receive a lot of information in the middle of the case, recap and clarify as well, especially definition. Now, I would like to ask a few clarification questions. Is that okay? Now that we have confirmed all the initial information, can I please ask some questions to understand the situation better before defining my approach? It would be very helpful to know a few more things before we apply a structured approach. Can I ask a couple questions? When you say the market share is dropping, are we talking about the Orlando theme park market or the US or even the global market? Are we talking about market share in dollars or in visitors? By how much has the market share dropped and in what time frame? It is clear that we must reverse the market share drop, but do we have any quantitative objectives in mind and the time horizon to achieve it? What segmentation does the client apply to revenues? In other words, what are the different revenue streams they have? Are we losing market share in all of them? Do you know why third-party sources are so poor in forecasting of demand? The proprietary view of the market means the demand forecast for all end products for which they produce components. Is there any product in which the client would like to focus on? Why are they so vulnerable to changes in market demand? What is the time horizon that they need to have in order not to be vulnerable? Is there any other goal apart from answering if the client should develop their own view of the market? Expand means setting up a local operation or subsidiary in Romania. Why is the client considering an international expansion? Are the current markets saturated? Has the client looked at other avenues for growth? Why the Romanian market? Is the client open to listening about other markets, or we have to focus only in Romania here? What is the quantitative objective of the client with this expansion? Is it a specific market share or revenue targets over a certain time horizon? What are the main revenue streams of Swiss Bank? Do they want to explore all market segments in Romania or only in a specific one?